Minchia che figata qua.
Cazzo è bassa la ringhiera.
Vuoi buttarti?
Cosa?
La cosa, la casa degli indiani.
Teď si vím, že každou půl hodinu jsou tady túry.
To je neštěstí s těma filmaři.
No a na to, že ve 45 má začít, tak nás tady moc není.
Stačí jeden ten blázen, co bude snímat
Vždycky trčet někde dlouho.
160 stupňů. Nahoru a dolů. To je opravdu šílenec.
I have everyone on the 932 tour doing a job. And maybe take a few steps closer together so there's enough space for people to come down there if they're not on the tour, that they can still see the view. And everyone is looking in this direction. If you see any lightning, raise your hand right away because we want to make sure that the lightning is a safe distance away. Okay? So that's your jobs, and also to listen. If we do have a problem, fear not, Superman is with us. Wait, are you Superman or Batman? I'm
I'm
confused.
Superman. I'm both. Every day I'm Superman, night I'm Batman.
Okay, so we're extra safe with him around. Awesome. Cool. My name is Jackie. I'll be your ranger for this tour. And I'm going to go over a little information with everyone to make sure that we're all on the same page. Everyone is ready for this tour. So when you purchase your tickets for this tour, you were probably told this is going to be a strenuous tour. I'm going to explain what that means. It's not strenuous because of the distance. It's only about a quarter-mile round trip. It's strenuous because we're up here at about 7,000 feet. We have to climb down about 100 feet into Cliff Palace and then climb back up about 100 feet out of Cliff Palace. Most of us are probably from a lower elevation. This is going to be more difficult than it would be at home. So that 100-foot climb is something to think about. If you have any heart problems, breathing problems, these are reasons why you might want to reconsider doing this tour. Here's what we're going to do exactly. We're going to walk down these metal steps right here through a locked gate, and we're going to quickly come to some irregular sandstone steps that are carved into the rock. These steps are all different shapes and sizes. Some of them are really big. If you're short like me, that's going to be a problem. Some of them are smaller. If you're short like me, that will make you happy. There's a banister next to some of them. There's nothing next to others. So something to be aware of. Very irregular sandstone steps. When we get to the bottom of the sandstone steps, we're going to walk along a paved pathway for a few minutes, and we're going to come to the first ladder. The first ladder is only about 10, 12 feet long. It doesn't usually give people much trouble. It's at a nice angle, not typically a problem. At the top of that first ladder, now we're in Cliff Palace. Once we're in Cliff Palace, there's a few more sandstone steps to go up, a few more sandstone steps to go down. Again, doesn't typically give anyone problems, but do keep your eyes open. I don't want anyone tripping or anything. Then we have to leave Cliff Palace. To leave Cliff Palace, we're going to start out on another set of steep, irregular sandstone steps. Again, no railings or anything. And then we're going to come to the exit ladders. The exit ladders, there's 3 of them, all in a row. They're each about 10 feet long or less. They're kind of tucked back into the rock, so they don't have that feeling of exposure that the balcony house ladders have. I don't know if anyone has ever been to balcony house or if you're planning on going later in the day. But most people don't have as much trouble with the Cliff Palace ladders as they do with the balcony house ladders. However, there are 3 ladders all in a row. This is something that you might want to think about if you have a fear of heights. You can actually see the 3rd exit ladder if you look across the way at that deep, dark crack. You guys all see the 3rd exit ladder coming up and out onto the mesa top? Okay, so that's how we're going to be coming out. Once we're at the top of that 3rd exit ladder, now we're back on the mesa top. There's just a few steps kind of like these to get back to your car, back to the parking lot. Hopefully everyone survives. I don't usually lose more than 5 or 10 people per tour, so figure that's pretty good, right? Exactly. That's what I'm hoping for. Hey, what do you expect for $4, right? So that's the tour. If that sounds good to everyone, awesome. What we're going to do, well, there's a few more actually words of caution, I guess, before we head down into Cliff Palace. Keep in mind that once we get into Cliff Palace, we're inside an 800-year-old cliff dwelling. We need to treat Cliff Palace with the utmost of respect. You know, to you and I, it might look like an empty village, but to the modern Pueblo people whose ancestors built Cliff Palace, this is the home of their ancestors. It's not empty. So we need to treat it with a great deal of respect. We're not going to touch anything when we're in Cliff Palace. Okay? We're not going to touch the walls. We're not going to lean on the walls, climb on the walls, stand on the walls, sit on the walls. You get the idea, right? And the reason for this is we want Cliff Palace to last for another 800 years. We want it to be here when we all come back with our grandkids, right? So along the same lines, there's no food or drink other than water allowed in Cliff Palace. That includes gum. If anyone has gum in their mouth, you can deposit it in this trash can right here, right now. If you don't deposit it in the trash can and I find you with gum in Cliff Palace, I'm going to ask you to swallow it or stick it in your hair. Those are your options. Swallow it or stick it in your hair. Or your father's hair. Just kidding. Your hair. No food or drink. Oh yeah, the ladders. So everyone has to climb the ladders on their own. You should have both hands free to climb the ladders. There's no passing of people up and down the ladders. The only exception to this is if you're a very small person, and you can be in a baby backpack or front pack. Other than that, you're climbing the ladders on your own. Okay? So what we're going to do then is I'm going to ask everyone to please keep your groups together. This is the 9:30 tour. If you're here for the 10 o'clock tour, you can wait over there for your ranger. Everyone please keep your groups together. Tear your ticket stubs off for me. That'll make it go more quickly. I'm going to walk down the stairs here and let everyone through. What we're going to do is we're going to go down the stairs, across the pathway, up the ladder. Once you get to the top of the ladder and you're in Cliff Palace, you'll walk along a paved pathway for another minute or two. You will come to a sign that says, "Wait for Ranger here." Anyone listening? Okay, I'm going to put her in charge. She's the only one listening. You're going to come to a sign that says, "Wait for Ranger here." When you get to that sign, walk right past it.
We got junior rangers, so
They're in charge. Actually, just listen to her. I'm going to take a nap. She's leading the tour. I keep asking, but she doesn't seem as enthusiastic about it as I am. Walk right past that "Wait for Ranger Here" sign. You'll see a sandstone ledge on the left that looks a lot like this one behind me. Find a seat on the sandstone ledge. As long as you're sitting on natural sandstone, you're fine. Just avoid the man-made walls. Okay? Sounds good. Let's head down to Cliff Palace.
Okay.
Single file behind me.
All right, so you're supposed to know what you're doing. Down the stairs, across the path, up the ladder, right past the "Wait for Ranger Here" sign. Find a seat on the sandstone. Okay? Where are you guys from? Denver. Denver. Yes, right. Oh, wait, you can't come. All right. Oh. Mom has it. Where are you guys from? Michigan. Michigan.
thank you. You want to go between Mom and I?
All right. Where are you from? Italy. Italy.
Los Angeles.
Welcome. Easy one.
E ce l'hai tu.
All right. Where are you from?
Italy.
Benvenuti.
Grazie.
Grazie. Credevo che
Oh, welcome.
five behind me.
You know, we have a limit of only 5 Oklahomans per tour. Sorry. You're gonna have to stay back.
No.
I choose him.
Of course, they wouldn't be going on the tour. This is the filter for the tour. You can't make it through there. You can't go on the tour.
I'm not sure what he remember? 看起来像开什么事？ 海外回来后。你再喝一个汤。你这来。来。
Hi.
忘了。
My turn.
来，快快去，你再站着。你先赶快吧，先。你们准备来？你就站着。
Oh yeah, you're gonna no.
Really cannot get in because go down like 2 or 3 steps.
Libby, go down next page.
Okay. Okay, come play in your spots again. Kind of a good sitting spot for somebody your size. For me, I was like, hey, look at all the stuff built up on the
So, a few words about Cliff Palace. Some of you may know this already. Cliff Palace is the largest of the cliff dwellings here in Mesa Verde National Park. About 150 rooms, 21 kivas. Only about 100 to 125 people lived here though. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the tour, about why that might be. So there's over 600 alcove sites in the park. Cliff Palace is the biggest, but they drop off really quickly. Of those 600 sites, most of them are really small. A lot of them are going to be 10 rooms or less, just for one family. A lot of them are just for storage. They're not even living space. So 600 alcove sites, but very few of them look like this. In fact, only one looks like this. Now, the ancestral Pueblo people, of course, were living here in Mesa Verde for hundreds of years, since the 600s. And again, we're not leaning against the walls, please. Thanks. Does anyone know how they were making their living here? What they were doing for food? Subsistence farming. Subsistence farming, that's exactly right. So the people who lived here were farmers, and they were farming primarily corn, but also beans and squash. So I know we had a few Midwesterners here. I heard of Wisconsin, Michigan. This should look just like home to you, right? It's identical. Right? I don't even know why you bothered to come. Just corn farming, just like home. Now, of course, the farming was up on the mesa top, and people were living up on the mesa top as well. In fact, people lived up on the mesa top for hundreds and hundreds of years, since the 500s, 600s. It wasn't until the 1200s that some people moved down here into the alcoves. Not everyone, but a few. So, at the peak of the population, there were thousands of people living in Mesa Verde National Park. Maybe as many as 10,000 people living here. So, who's a math whiz? Let's do some quick math. Thousands of people, possibly as many as 10,000 people. 600 alcove sites, but only a few of them are this big, right? And the Cliff Palace had 100, 125 people. Most of them are one-family homes. Does that math work out? There were very few people, relatively, living in alcoves, weren't there? most people were still living up from the Mesa top. They were living in small single-family compounds, maybe 2 families, and in large villages. There were villages that were way bigger up on the Mesa top than Cliff Palace, villages with hundreds of people. And in fact, there were even bigger villages in the valleys. Everyone who came to the park either came through the Montezuma Valley, where Cortez is, or through the Mancos Valley, one of those two. Huge villages down here with thousands of people. So, so many more people living in southwest Colorado 800 years ago than there are today, which I think is pretty amazing when you think about it. Now, the ancestral Pueblo people I mentioned were farmers, growing corn, beans, and squash up there on the Mesa top. But that's not all they ate, right? They ate other foods too. Does anyone know what else people ate back here in the 1200s?
Pinyon nuts.
Pinyon nuts, yeah, you're exactly right. So they gathered food, a lot of wild foods. Pinyon nuts, acorns, and boy, is it acorn season right now. If anyone has looked at the oaks, lots and lots of acorns. As you walk past some of these oaks, take a look at them. I bet they're full of acorns. Prickly pear cactus, yucca, a really useful plant. Tons of berries in this park. Lots of stuff people were eating. It turns out that the environment 800 years ago was about the same as it is today. Same plants, same animals, that sort of thing. And then hunting, of course, right? People were hunters. So throughout all the centuries, people hunted. And then turkeys. People had domesticated turkeys. Because everyone likes a good turkey sandwich, right? Exactly. Gosh, I'm thinking about lunch already. All right, I gotta go. Turkeys and dogs, by the way, were the only 2 domesticated animals that the ancestral Pueblo people had. Turkeys and dogs. Now, sitting here at this viewpoint of Cliff Palace, what strikes you? What are you wondering about?
How did they get in here?
How did they get in here? That's a great question, and the answer is not the way we did. We have such an easy way in and such an easy way out. The way they came in, there are several different ways, but by and large they were on hand and toe hold trails, which are carved into the cliff face. They're very shallow little depressions that are carved, so it's kind of like a way to make it easier for you to climb up and down the cliffs. We're actually going to walk past one of the original hand and toe hold trails on our way out, so I'll try to point that out to everyone. Yeah. Why did they leave? We're going to talk about that at the end of the tour. Anything?
Why did they come? Some of them. Why did all of a sudden?
Yeah, that is a great question. Why did some people move down here starting around the 1200s? So I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I'm an archaeologist. I've been an archaeologist for 20 years. I'm a park ranger. There's something you need to know how to say if you have either of these jobs or both of these jobs. I don't know. Why did people move down to the alcoves? No idea. That's not entirely true. I don't know the answer, but we do have some ideas. And you'll find the more time you spend in this park, that's the answer to a lot of questions here. We really don't know a lot about this park. Why did they move down to the alcoves though? Well, here's one possibility. There's a really great spring right below us. And a lot of these alcove sites are built around springs, built around water sources. So that might have had something to do with it. People look at these alcove sites and think this would be a really easy place to defend, right? It'd be easy to keep people out. That might have something to do with it. Ultimately, though, we really don't know. We just have ideas. So, yeah.
It also looks like a subculture. So you have the main culture of the Indians, and when I look at something like this, too small.
Thank you. I'm that good.
So one possibility when I look at it is like all of them couldn't fit in here. So this is more kind of maybe a subculture within the culture itself. I don't know if it's religious.
Cliff Palace is a subculture. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I think that the people who lived here would have been the same general culture as the people who lived elsewhere in the park, even up on the Mesa top. However, you are kind of hitting on an interesting thing, which is I mentioned how there were only about 100, 125 people who lived here. Look at that group plus our group. That's about 100 people. Not very many people, right? So we start wondering, why is Cliff Palace so big? And one possible reason is it might have been some kind of a community gathering center. And we'll again have a better perspective on this from the other side of Cliff Palace, where you can kind of get a better view of how much open space there would be here. But this might have been some sort of a community center, a place where people came and gathered, celebrated, traded news.
Storage, right?
The same sort of thing that we use our community centers for today. You know, maybe like a town plaza sort of thing. But you know what? I don't know. It's an easy job. I don't have to know anything. Does anyone have a question? Anyone? 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 Gosh, no one has a question. Oh, you.
How many years ago did the people live?
So people lived here in the 1200s, from about 1200 to about 1300. So for about 100 years. Okay? Did we find burials? The answer is most burials would be on the slope below. And that's where most burials have been found, yeah. One more question, then we're going to move on to the next stop.
How much restoration work was done on the buildings?
That is a great question. So I hope everyone had a chance to look at the photo up above that shows what Cliff Palace looked like when it was first rediscovered in the late 1800s. The short answer is Cliff Palace, like a lot of the other alcove sites you'll see here in the park, is about 80 to 85% original. The longer answer is, for the most part, the front portion had to be rebuilt to a greater degree than the back portion. The stuff in the back was better preserved. The only thing that's going to affect the structures in the back is rockfall, because of course that's how these alcoves form, right? Is by rock falling off the ceiling. The stuff up front has rockfall and weather. You've got wind and rain and all sorts of stuff like that. So let's though walk along the front of Cliff Palace here, take a look at everything as we walk by. We're going to stop in the middle of Cliff Palace, and then we will talk a little bit about how Cliff Palace was built, and we can look at the building process up close. Okay? Let's head on to the middle.
Solo che adesso c'è tutta la gente.
They live here?
No, I haven't come back.
All right, so let's all gather close to the space with everyone. We're going to talk for a few minutes about how Cliff Palace was built. I like to stand here and think about this because it's a great view. You can see in all directions. You can see these beautiful walls above us. And think about what a project this would have been, right? This was a big project building Cliff Palace. Now, of course, it wasn't built all at once. It was built over a period of about 100 years with kind of spurts of construction, right? So there'd be a lot of construction for 5 or 10 years and then not as much, then a lot. As a way of thinking about how much work it would have been to build Cliff Palace, let's think for a minute about how much work it would be to build a house today. Say you were going to put like a little guest house in your yard, right? Put an addition on. That's a big job. Building a house. You've got a lot of advantages here, right? You're going to put in a little 2-room guest house in your yard. You call up some company and order your building supplies. They appear at your building site. Wow, that's pretty easy. Worst case scenario, you could jump in your car and drive to the hardware store and buy materials, buy bricks, buy concrete mix, buy tools, right? Get back in your car, drive home. It's still a big job, right? You're not going to do this in a weekend. You're going to call up your friends, order a lot of pizza, and it'll take a series of weekends. It might take weeks, it might even take months, and it might even take years. Who has a project that's still going on in their house, right? it could take a really long time. And we have so many advantages. Now let's talk about building for the palace. So everyone knows that these bricks are made of sandstone, right? They're not mud adobe, they're sandstone bricks. Where did you get your sandstone bricks from? Down there. Good guess, but no. That's actually possible, but remember I talked about how this alcove forms? We have rockfall that damages the site. That's how the alcove forms. So the first people who moved here, they would have looked at this alcove and it would have been a rubble field, full of pieces of rock. So a lot of the rocks would have actually come from right here. Now you're right, they could have gotten bricks from above because there would have been abandoned houses. Maybe you were moving out of a house to move down here. You've already got bricks that are already square, so you could lower them down, carry them down. But a lot of the bricks would have been built using material that came from the alcove itself. But those are all big pieces of rubble, right? Pieces of sandstone of all different shapes and sizes. And you look at these, and most of these are nice square bricks, or at least squared off on one side. So how are you going to square off that sandstone into nice square bricks? Chip it with what? Another rock, stone hammer. Any idea what kind of rock? Where you're getting this rock? Yeah. River rock? River rock. That's exactly right. So you can't use the rock up here because this is all soft sandstone, right? You bash two pieces of sandstone together, you get a mess. You need hard river cobbles. Closest source of hard river cobbles, the Mancos River, 3-mile walk downstream. So here you are, all ready to build your house. You gotta buy your tools. You throw your basket on your back, you walk 3 miles to the river, you fill it up with heavy rocks, you walk 3 miles back. Cool, now you're ready to start building. So what do? You grab your rock, you grab your sandstone, and you chip away. And you chip away some more. You chip, chip, chip away all day. All the next day. All the day after that. All next week. All the week after that. Maybe all next month. This is a big process. There's a lot of bricks even just to build, a 1 or 2 room house right here. I don't know how long it takes. It takes a long time. Certainly weeks, possibly months. Chip away that many nice square bricks. But great, you've done it. You've chipped away all your bricks. You're ready to start building. You need one more ingredient. Mortar, right? And that mortar is coming from where? Not the nice bag of concrete mix and pouring it in the wheelbarrow and turning on the hose. I heard a few people say some things. Well, the river, that's a long way to go to get mud. Anything closer? So the spring, that's a possible. So let's divide it actually into 2 parts, right? So folks, please, nothing on the walls. Is that natural sandstone or is that a wall? It's a wall. Yeah, nothing on the walls. Thank you. So you've got 2 ingredients to make your cement, right? You've got that bag of cement mix and your hose full of water. Where are you getting that bag of dry cement mix from? Up, maybe. That's a long way to carry it. Where else? I'm thinking of something closer. The rubble, maybe even just the slope below. It turns out it's just native soil. It's the local dirt. That's all that is to make this. The local dirt here is, for the most part, windblown. It comes in from the southwest. It has a high clay content, so it actually makes pretty good mortar. You probably add a little bit of ash from your fireplace, and you're good to go. You just need that water. So we talked about the water. Probably not the river. That's a really long way to walk. Someone suggested the spring, which is very close. But you know what? That's my family's drinking water. I don't know that I want to use my family's drinking water up to make mortar. I heard someone say rain, yeah. I think rain is a really good guess. So when it rains here, which we may or may not get the chance to see, this slope below us, it's all mud. It's ready to go, right? You just grab a handful of mud, start building. Now, normally, in August, it rains every day. We have this summer monsoon, July, August, September. We get lots of rain. So a lot of the construction here might have happened during that summer monsoon, July, August, September, because you've got mud ready to go. A lot of construction also might have happened in winter here. We get a lot of snow here in winter. We get 5 or 6 feet of snow every year, and we also get a lot of sunny days. And so the snow tends to melt in between storms. So what do you have when it melts? Mud. So probably a lot of the construction happened here during the summer monsoon and during winter. We can't tell that for sure, but that's a really good guess. Any other questions while we're standing here at this particular palace about construction or anything else?
The round containers, is that for grain?
The round containers, good guess, is that for grain? That's exactly what we're going to talk about at the next stop. So I'm going to hold off on that question until we get there, but he's asking about the big round rooms. Yes?
Do you have a sense of what the life expectancy was?
Yeah, that's a great question, and this turns out to be a math problem. The question is about life expectancy. So mathematicians in the audience, you all know what I'm talking about here. So the average life expectancy was about 30. However, there's a big star right here, right? The average life expectancy was quite low because there was really high child mortality, really high infant mortality. It was hard to make it out of childhood. A lot of people dying at a very young age, that's going to bring the average down. If you made it through childhood, say you made it to age 10, you'd actually probably have a pretty long life. You'd be likely to live to 50 or 60. So to ask what the average life expectancy is always a little tricky. What's interesting is that's about the same numbers we see in Europe at about the same time. So average life expectancy of about 30, high mortality, infant mortality, so live a good long life if you made it out of childhood. Yeah.
Would the builders have been families, or would there have been any idea of who the builders would have been?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We can't really answer that. More than likely, though, there was a pretty definite division of labor here, because building a house is a big job, as you know. You got to eat, so someone else is probably working up in the fields up above. Someone else is probably, grinding corn and cooking. There's probably a pretty strong division of labor going on here, but I don't know who did what. Yeah.
Why are there sticks?
Yeah, why are there sticks sticking out of the walls? So this is kind of cool. Everywhere that you see sticks sticking out of the walls, we'll see if my pointer works. So like here, or like up there, that tells us that there's a ceiling and a floor inside that room block. So if you look at that one above, it's really easy to see that there's a first story and a second story. So those sticks sticking out will be the ceiling of the first floor and the floor of the second floor. Often, when you see sticks sticking out like that, you have a balcony built on top of that. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's still going to balcony house. Keep your eyes open for things like that at balcony house. Yes?
Have you ever gone up there?
I wish. No.
They won't let you?
Nope, I've not. Who can go up there? Basically no one. So yeah, most of the sites here, the question is who can go up there. Most of the sites here are just, they're preserved. So no one's allowed. Occasionally archaeologists will go up there to do a survey to check whether things are still, if anything's fallen down. But for the most part, no one. Yeah.
It's very fragile.
I don't think it's so much that it's so fragile as it's so easy, one careless person can do a lot of damage. Back in the old days, people told me this was a self-guided tour, and we could all just climb around in the back of the palace, and no one can do that anymore. So, unfortunately, let's take one more question, then we're going to move on to the next stop and talk about those holes in the ground.
Do they have water storage or a cistern here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Are there cisterns? And the answer is no. I don't know why that is. I only know of one cistern in the park. There might be others. There's one, and we can't go see it. No one can go see it. I can't go see it. But there's a cistern over on Weatherall Mesa, not far from where the parking area is. I don't know why there aren't cisterns in this park. It seems like it would be a really good way to store water. But it turns out what people did is they built big pottery pots called oyas. And so water was stored in pots, but not cisterns. All right, we're going to walk on to the next stop, and everyone, again, we're going to walk nice and slow to get a good look at everything. Stack up those questions.
I was like, no, don't worry about it. But like the guy made it seem like it really was intense. It was like, it's extremely strenuous. And I needed to eat all along. I don't know if they said food. I feel like they did. I'll get a picture right here.
Don't lie to my child.
I would send you out and I said, go get food.
He come back home with a stick and a rock.
I said, you don't come back until you get some good feet. Come on, let's go. You looking at me?
Minchia. Sì, sì.
It just started raining. Started raining. Big jackets all along.
Big flat open plaza because each one of these big holes in the ground, which is called a kiva, would have a flat roof on it. So instead of being squished into this space, you'd have lots of space to spread out. These would all have big flat roofs on them. There'd be flat roofs on these ones below. And like I said over there would have been a lot of open space here at Cliff House. It wouldn't have been kind of just really stair-stepped up. There would have been lots of space for people to gather. So if this was a community center, this might have been where a lot of that gathering took place, right? Because it would have been a nice big open plaza, lots of space. With a great view too. You can see the entire Cliff College. Now, these flat roofs would have been very thick. They would have been built on top of these columns or pilasters. Right there. So at its thickest, it would have been 4 feet thick probably. And there would have been a hole in the center of the roof. And that hole would have a ladder in it. And that's how you would climb in or out. Now, has anyone here been to Spruce Tree House yet? Okay, a few of you have, most of you haven't. Everyone must go to Spruce Tree House. And you're not leaning against the wall, are you? Good job. So, the reason why you must go to Spruce Tree House is because Spruce Tree House is the only place in the park where we've reconstructed kiva roofs. Most of the kivas had to collapse. I remember when we were talking about kind of what had to be reconstructed. Every single one of these kiva roofs collapsed. Some of the walls had to be built up as well. Spruce Tree House, there's 3 kivas that are reconstructed. One of which you can actually go down into. If you get into that kiva, you can see how that roof is constructed. It's not hard to describe. I do recommend that everyone visit Spruce Tree House. Look what that kiva plaza looks like. Reconstructed. When you get into that kiva, you'll have a much better time to get out there and visualize it. Here we are. Coming down into the kiva. At the bottom of the ladder, there's this hole in the ground. That's the fireplace. So the hole that you climb in through is also the smoke hole. So you can come up and out of that hole. On the other side, those of you who are sitting on the other side of the kiva can look at the other kiva behind you. They have the same construction. There is this little tunnel coming out of the wall. And you can't see it, but there's a hole in the ground right over here. That's the ventilation shaft. There's steam air. Take that ventilation shaft out this little tunnel. Smoke coming up out through the smoke hole that you climb in through. This wall between them, keeping them separate. This kiva has a great ventilation shaft. That's clean air. It's the only room in all of Cliff Palace that has nice, clean air. stand out right above that fire won't be a problem. Now, what was the kiva used for? Yeah. Yeah, ceremonies is part of the answer. Someplace where you gather. So today, kivas are used by modern culture. And that's where we get that answer from. 800 years ago, this was probably used for ceremonies just like it is today. It was probably also used as a living space because, as I described, this is the warmest room in the palace and has the cleanest air. You know, a lot of these rooms up here would have been living space as well, but they're going to be smoky from fires in the winter. They're going to be drafty because it's hard to block off all winds from the doors. So this is really the choice place to live. So this is kind of a living room, bedroom, kitchen, dining room, as well as a third room. Yeah, so the question was, are there enough kivas to hold 100 people? Between the kivas and all of this living space up above, there's actually more living space than you would need for the 100 people. That's why we think that Cliff Palace might have also been used for community gatherings. You know, maybe some of these kivas may be guest rooms or some of these rooms up above. People come for a community event and spend the night. Or maybe ceremony during the community events. So those are all possible things going on here.
Going back to my original question, you know, in every culture you have people that are super, like in that case we have monks and things like that, religious. It could be, you have the main people, and then it's more like some type of special within, I don't want to say monks, but some kind of religious, or not necessarily religious, but some type, and so this was reserved for them.
Yeah, I don't know.
It looks like a storage place too, just, you know.
Yeah, so the answer to that is, I don't know. Unfortunately, that's not the kind of question you can answer. Into the people.
You don't have into the...
That's the kind of question we need time to answer. I'm working on it. I haven't figured it out yet. But you did mention storage here, absolutely right, because a lot of these rooms would be used for storage. Again, you're a corn farmer. You need to get through the winter every year, right? You're storing corn to get through the winter. I need to get through the bad years. And there is a lot of storage, not in the Cuba, but a lot of storage in the Palace. Any questions before we talk about why people left Mesa Verde?
Yeah. What was the average size of the person?
Well, so that opening behind you, that's a door. So that tells me that they were pretty small. They're about this big. That's not true. I'd be average for a woman, so 5'1", men would be about 5'4", 5'5". Please don't touch the walls. Yes, question over there. Why are the windows up there T-shaped? That's an easy one. I don't know. Yeah, we don't know. We have some ideas. So it might be a practical reason. It might be because it's easier to go through with your shoulders. Your shoulders are wider. It might give you something to lean on when you're climbing through the doorway. There might be something more, ceremonial or something to it, because most of the T-shaped doors go from private space into public space. If it just goes from private to private, it can be rectangular, but not all. So, I don't know. Yeah. Who would come and stay the night? Relatives, friends, people who live far away, people from balcony house, people from longhouse. I don't know. I don't know. Yes?
Why is there a frame in that one?
Yeah, why is there a frame in this kiva? So if you're on this side, you can see that there's a wooden support system going on in that kiva. Unfortunately, Cliff Palace is moving. So Cliff Palace is in the middle of a 5 to 10 year restoration or stabilization project. It closes early this year, September 14th, I think is the last day of Cliff Palace tours. And the reason is because it's moving ever so slightly. Remember I told you how this would have been a rubble field when people first came here before they built Cliff Palace? So what Cliff Palace is built on, unfortunately, is not very stable. And so there's a project going on kind of just below. You can kind of see down there where we were standing before. My thing goes that far. Just beyond these stairs on the wall, they're digging out the wall, putting in big stabilizers, and then fixing it up again. So yeah, Cliff Palace is not stable, unfortunately. Okay, one last question, then we're going to talk about why people left Mesa Verde. Yeah.
Would they have traveled to the other areas? I mean, would that might,
Like Cliff Palace to Balcony House?
yeah,
Absolutely.
for training or for?
I don't know. People 800 years ago were very fit. They were sort of small, muscular, thin. Walking from here to Balcony House, today we could do that. So that would be a half-mile walk. It's no big deal. Walking from here to Longhouse, 2.5 miles, to go down a canyon, up another canyon, again, no big deal. That would be, you'd probably go there and date somebody for lunch and come back. So absolutely. Why? Why do you visit people today? You know? Probably people you wouldn't visit too. So let's talk for a few minutes about why people left Mesa Verde. Towards the end of the 1200s, everyone left. Everyone moved. They all moved to New Mexico. We know this. This is where the modern Pueblo people live today, by the way. So if anyone is going to New Mexico next, it's well worth stopping and visiting one of the modern Pueblos. You can see how some people today still live in structures that are actually not that different from what we've seen here in the park. Not that different from how their ancestors lived. Of course, most modern Pueblo people live in modern houses like you and I. But, you know, some of the grandmothers have been living in their traditional homes. So, towards the end of the 1200s, there was a really bad drought. And it became much more difficult to be a farmer here in Mesa Verde. And that probably had a lot to do with why people left. But you know what? People have been farming here for hundreds of years. And there have been lots of droughts before. And some of them were even worse than that drought in the end of the 1200s. So there must have been something more than that. You know? There must have been more going on. And we have some ideas. People have been living here for hundreds of years and have been chopping down firewood for hundreds of years. That forest fire that you guys all drove through and you can see up there that happened in 2003, it's going to be 200 years before that forest regrows. So if you were chopping down trees here for 700 years, the trees aren't regrowing, you know, very quickly. Firewood is getting more and more difficult to come by. Hunting is getting more. So you look at the sites from the 600s, 700s, 800s, there's lots of deer. People are doing really well for them. If you look at the sites from the 1200s, and there's mostly rabbits. You find lots of deer. Well, during a drought, if you're a farmer, you still have to feed your family. There's only that make up for that lack of corn. But the hunting is very temperatures were actually lower during this drought. Even you think of the drought as being hot and dry. So the 1200 days cooler and drier. That's a big problem if you're a corn farmer. So all of these things together probably had enough of an effect that people said, you know, I need to go somewhere else. I need to go somewhere where I can not worry about feeding my family, not worry about making money. Meanwhile, people are trading with other people that live hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. We find things like parrot feathers from Mexico. We find turquoise from New Mexico. We find seashells from the Pacific Ocean. So people know about what's around them, right? And if you're an ancestral Pueblo person, you can walk 20, 30 miles in a day without even thinking twice about it. Maybe 40 miles, no big deal. So it's not that long of a walk to get to New Mexico. The Rio Grande River, the San Juan River, they're running year-round. They're never going to dry up. So people did. People went down to New Mexico. And maybe they were planning on coming back here. Maybe they weren't. We don't know. I do know that the Pueblo idea of home is a little different from the American idea of home. For a Pueblo person, home is where your family is. So they weren't leaving their home when they left Cortez. They were moving their home. They moved their home to New Mexico, and that's where they are today. Again, everyone should take a chance to visit. I can tell you how they left. They left not too different from how we're going to leave today. They didn't have that nice staircase, but they did have a hand and toe trail. We're going to walk right past it. So everyone make sure to look. As you're walking up those sandstone steps, the trail will take a kind of turn to the left, and you will enter a deep, narrow slot. As our trail enters that deep, narrow slot, look at the boulder on your right, and you will see some of the original hand and toe holes that people probably used to leave Cliff Palace at the end of the 1200s. Now, the original hand and toe holes are very shallow. If you see something that you would even think about using yourself, that was Park Service. Look for the very shallow ones that you would not want to use. So we're going to head out, and I am going to kind of take up the rear, so I will be here to answer questions. I thank everyone for joining me. I hope everyone enjoys their visit here in the park. And go visit Spruce Tree House. Go in that key. Go see the roof. All right, and I will be over there at the end to take questions. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to walk behind you. That way you can be there to answer questions.
No.
That's easy.
I need you can't. You don't know.
En fait, c'est un peu comme les c'est vrai que l'endroit est fait une protection naturelle. Cela dit, en haut, ça veut dire qu'il n'y a pas trop de queue, il y a un bec en haut.
Comment ils faisaient pour payer?
Bon, bah, ils avaient des armes, ils faisaient des armes avec des pierres. Donc en fait, le mortier, donc il fallait deux, trois choses pour faire les murs. Il fallait donc des sandstones, c'est-à-dire la pierre calcaire qui tombait simplement du haut. C'est comme ça que cette falaise s'est créée de toute façon. C'est la pierre qui tombe. Donc il la récupérait. Ensuite, tu ne pouvais pas faire de... Yeah, I was going to ask the original noble house. And some maybe I don't know, the artifacts that we have found in the buildings, there is no way we cannot say okay, that was a noble house, or maybe more elaborated.
Not so much that, but we can tell kind of the function of the room.
Hold on, Elijah.
Gathering in one.
Elijah.
Elijah. Heard anyone doing that?
Kind of interesting.
You need to put her in the back.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious how many people, like 20 people?
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if they figured out that they could throw water on the fire and create a steam.
I'm sure they did.
You think they figured that part out?
Rocket science.
Well, it might be fun. I guess I can. What's that? You look on here, I have this little.
They're coming.
I know they're coming, but we gotta get in groups. I don't want to be responsible for booking. Really? Okay, if you don't behave, you won't get a spanking. Thank
Maybe they have some
you. You act really good.
system.
Did you see that small tunnel that went from that one keeper, the nearest keeper to the next nearest keeper? That's cool. And then from that building into the kiva. I said that. You know people.
Yeah, I just picked it up real quick in Walmart.
So,
Is that what you're talking
look for the hand and toe hold. So the gentleman in the purple was about 5 feet ahead of him on the right.
Oh, okay.
You gotta look at me.
I want a nap suit.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Yeah, somebody will probably take you up there. Yeah.
Oh, look, see right there. For the hand and the feet. That's how they climb. Look, right here. Look. This one you can.
Not that one.
No.
Put your feet together, Mommy.
That's your feet. First ladder.
Put your feet together. That's not your hand. That's your feet. Put your feet together, Emily. That's your feet.
You're leaking, Elsa.
Am I really?
Yeah.
Why would
I go
On your pocket.
Well, I don't know how I came up with a backpack and
Yeah, that's why we asked to have your hands free, please.
Yeah.
No, Poppy can stick that in.
Okay, give it to me.
No, you're supposed to be in the backpack.
Give it to me.
It was in the.
Give it to me.
How are you gonna
It was in my mouth.
You're gonna put all that stuff in your backpack anyway.
Mommy.
You know how we're gonna climb? How are you gonna climb on the ladder?
Eli, vai. Fammene una dall'alto quando arrivi.
Where are those hands?
Se ci arrivo.
I told you, Jose.
Yeah.
So how many people slipped and fell?
You know, I bet not that many.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. This is what they did every
Experience.
Every day?
This is just daily life for them. So think about it like this. If I asked you to come this right now, you'd be like, you crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. Not as often as you would
That's
think.
what I thought. It's not like it's the kind of thing where, sure, you're a parent and worry about your kids.
Minchia.
How often you gotta replace these?
Che bello qua.
Merda.
Allora la macchina passava in mezzo.
Dove?
Laggiù. Minchia che caldo qua.
Aspetta.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Way up there with the all the what is it called? Heroes.
The superhero?
That's me.
You see Missy? Move!
I'm being photogenic. Hi, Mommy. Hi, Mommy. Hi.
Where's Sophie at?
Look up here.
Alright, everyone survived.
Yay!
Thank you, Jackie.
Non trovi?
Mm.
Da flena proprio.
Ci sono anche i cactus.
Un bel parapendio da qua è da paura.